Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be doing session 8 to 11, right? So this is the final video of part 1. I've done all videos in part 1. Once I'm done with this video, part 1 will be complete. So in this section, we're going to go over a lot of calculations in Economics 102. So these are all the things that we're going to be discussing. So let's start. Now, unemployment, right? What is unemployment? You might think unemployment is a person without a job, all that, but right here, it's going to tell us what is unemployment. Now, when you're unemployed, what happens to you when you're unemployed? Your incomes are lost and the production. So, what this means? It means when people are unemployed, they don't earn salaries, so they don't have money. Also, there's less production. Why? Because they are not in businesses producing goods and services, right? So there's less production and loss of human capital. When you're unemployed for a long time, your skills, you won't have the same skills you were when you employed, right? Because you'll forget all those skills. Now, employment and unemployment. Okay, so population is everyone, right? So everyone on earth. Then you have the working age population. These are people from the population that work, right? These are probably people who can't work, who are young, retired, or whatever. Then from the people who can work, so this is a labor force. These are people that can work, not in the labor force. These are people who are not working, right? Employed, unemployed. But we're gonna go through all this one time over here. Okay, so to be counted in as employed in the QLFS. Now, what is QLFS? QLFS is basically a company or a private organization. Oh no, it's government owned. But basically, it's an organization that looks at the unemployment, and they basically put up what the unemployment rate is. They go to each household, do surveys or whatever to get the employment rate, right? So when these people go out now, the official unemployment. Now, whenever in the exam paper you see the official definition or narrow definition, they're regarding this definition, right? So you are unemployed if without work in a reference week. So what this means is when they go to your door and ask you if you don't have work, you must not have work, right? You could have actively looked for a job in the 4 weeks prior. So in the 4 weeks prior for them coming and knocking your door asking if you got a job, you went looking for a job, right? So number three, you would have been able to start to work or would have started a business. So you can work, right? Also you were looking for a job in the past. So this is the broad or expanded definition of unemployment. Okay, so this one is called the narrow definition, right? Narrow. This official unemployment. Three things. Then you get broad unemployment. Broad means big, right? So it excludes the second criteria. So what this means, broad unemployment, it's basically, it separates discouraged workers. Okay, so who are those available? Okay, so basically what broad unemployment means, it's including everything over here, right? But instead of number two, it's saying all discouraged workers. So they don't have to just be looking for a job for just 4 weeks. They could have been looking for a job for 2 3 years, right? So this includes discouraged workers. So make note, broad unemployment, expanding definition, includes discouraged workers, because discouraged workers didn't have to like only look for 4 weeks before the job when they asked them the question. They could be looking forever. So broad, just think about it, it expands more, so you're including discouraged workers over here. Now there's three calculations, major ones: unemployment rate, absorption rate, and labor force participation rate, right? The unemployment rate is very, very simple. The most important thing to take note of the denominator, labor force. Labor force, you might ask, is what? It's the people who are unemployed and the people of employed. Don't forget that. So once you get the labor force, you just take the people who are unemployed, hence employment rate, and times it by 100, you get the employment rate, right? The unemployment, just take note, right? Instead of labor force here, they can have workforce, same thing. Labor force, workforce, same thing. Now absorption rate. Now absorption rate is how many people are like employed in a population, right? So it's the working age population. Now what the working age population means? It means people who can work, right? They are fit to work. This do not include children and all that, right? So working age population. So the number of people employed over the working age population times 100 will give you absorption rates. Labor force participation rate. It's your labor force over your working age population, right? So both this absorption rate and labor force participation rate got a working age population and the denominator, right? And it makes sense, right? Now, in the above table, the size of workforce using the narrow definition. So, narrow definition, I told you, it looks for people who were working in the previous, or are not working, and they look for people who are looking for a job, right? Active seeking for a job. But it does not include discouraged workers. Discouraged workers is a broad employment, right? This is narrow. So working but no longer, this we exclude. So we're only looking at 40 plus 2. 40 plus 2 is 42 million, right? 42 million, perfect. Suppose the number of people employed is 25 million and the number of people in the workforce is 75 million. What is the employment rate? So it's easy. Take 25 million over 75 million times 100, you should get 75%, right? Actually, no, 33%. 25 over 75 times 100 is 33%. Yeah, 33%. In the above table, the economic activity. Okay, so the formula to calculate economic activity, think of economic activity as those people in jobs. Ah, oh no, it's not, sorry. Economic activity is those people can work. So it'll be 100 plus 40, so 140 over 225 times 100. 140 over 225 times 100, huh? What will that be? I think that'll be 62%, right? Yeah, 140 over 225 times 100. I just calculated, but it should be 62%. Yeah, I think it's 62%. So obviously it includes unemployment and employed, right? That's the economic activity over the population, obviously. Um. Okay, so stats essay. So this is the company I told you that collects all the information. Obviously, now marginally attached workers. Another name is discharge workers and part-time workers who want full jobs. So this company here makes sure to get all information about these, right? So how many people are like over here and stuff, right? Unemployment is costly, but mostly long-term unemployment results in job loss. Yeah, so unemployment is it's bad, but people who are unemployed for a long time is even worse for them. Now we got quite a bit of types of unemployment, right? First one when you think is think of friction. Friction unemployment is normal unemployment, right? People leave their jobs, people go into jobs. These are normal people that go into jobs, out from a job. So it's normal. Friction unemployment happens all the time. It's normal, right? Youth unemployment is where you're too young and you don't have the experience to get a job, right? So there's a lot of people that are young who wants to work but they're unemployed. They can't get a job because of experience. Structured unemployment. Now when you think of structured, think of there's a reason why they're unemployed. The reason why they're unemployed, their structured unemployment, is due to technology change, more computers, AI getting into people's jobs, so it pushes them out. So that's structured unemployment, right? Cyclic unemployment is the worst, right? Cyclic unemployment is where the whole country or the place is going into a recession, right? You'll see the business cycle, it goes down. So that's the cyclic unemployment. When the business cycle goes down, you know the graph, real GDP and potential GDP. When real GDP goes down, 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 that cyclic unemployment is happening at that time. Natural unemployment. Now, natural unemployment, right? Natural unemployment arises when unemployment is frictional and structural. So anytime when unemployment is structural and frictional only, that's natural unemployment. I saw in the past paper, instead of saying this, they say cyclic unemployment is zero. That this first line as cyclic unemployment equal to zero means the same thing. it means that there's only friction and structural employment, right? So same thing. Now, full employment, it's where the unemployment rate is equal to the national unemployment rate, right? That's just you need to know, right? That equals to the unemployment rate. No cyclic unemployment, zero. All our labor resources are fully employed and used in the most efficient way possible, right? Um, when you fully employment, right? On the real GDP and potential GDP, it touches at that point, right? So just know that they're equal to each other. Yeah, natural unemployment rate is a natural unemployment rate percentage of labor force. Right? So to calculate this, you put labor force in the denominator, natural unemployment in the numerator times 100, you get the rate. So natural unemployment rate can be influenced by, so why is there natural unemployment? The age and distribution of population, young versus old. If there's too much younger people, they may not get job because they don't have experience. Structural change. So when there's a lot of change in society, such as AI, a lot of people get lost jobs. Real wage rate. So basically, when you do not, basically you're not getting enough money in this your salary as a job because prices of products are gone very expensive. So your real wage rate actually you're not getting much product as you could. So basically your salary is too low. Unemployment benefits. So a lot of people leave their jobs because they're getting unemployment benefits such as UIF and all that, right? Now over the business cycle. Now a business cycle, as I told you, looks something like this. Huh? This is called your potential GDP, and then your real GDP goes something like this. Huh? Output gap over here, as you can see, output gap. It's the gap between the potential and real GDP. Over here, your output gap is this. Over here, it's this. Over here is this. These are called output gaps, right? So it fluctuates over the business cycle. As you can see, it changes. Uh, yeah. So fluctuates over the business cycle. The unemployment rate fluctuates around the natural unemployment rate. Yeah. So unemployment rate, I told you, everything is moving in the cycle, right? At full employment. Now I told you what's full employment in the previous slide. Full employment is where is where structured employment and natural employment. There's only that, right? So when that happens, real GDP is equal to potential GDP. The output gap is zero, so that means it's literally on the potential real GDP, like over here. And then the unemployment rate equals to natural unemployment rate, right? So full employment, think of it as good. So all these things over here happens, right? Price level. Now, what is price level? Is average level of prices for goods and services in the economy and value for money. For example, if bread now is going for 20 rand, that's the price level of bread, 20 rand, right? Inflation is when the price level of the product increases, right? So if bread increases from 20 rand to 21 rand and it continues increasing, that's called inflation. Deflation is the opposite, it continues decreasing, right? One thing you must note, inflation, right? It means it's continuous for a long period. So it doesn't mean it goes up from 20 and goes 21 rand, but then goes 20, that's inflation. No. It must be a continuous go up, right? So it must happen for a long time. Cost associated with inflation. So obviously when inflation happens, there's a lot of things that goes on, right? The disadvantages, redistribution of income, people become more poor, people own less stuff, right? Lowers GDP, diverts resource for production. So it's very, very bad when there's inflation. Now, hyperinflation, right? It's the worst. So it's very, very bad, and inflation is a 50% per month or higher. So 50% per month or higher, that's inflation, that's called hyperinflation. CPI, now Consumer Price Index, also known as CPI, is calculated monthly by stats. Huh? Now, CPI is a measure of the average level of prices. So, I told you the price level. So, you got bread that is 20 rand. But now, you're not only including all those one product. You may be saying milk that is 30 rand. Let's see, fruits that is 70 rand. And you calculate all this together in one basket. This is called a CPI, right? Now, CPI uses something called a base period. Now, base period means it'll be 100 for a certain year. and then after those years it might be like more than 100 to show that it increased in prices. So um the way CPI works, right? So do they show you? Yeah, okay, they show you over here, right? Perfect. So calculating CPI, okay. So right now, let's say I want to calculate CPI, right? So I got my cost of my CPI basket to be 220 there. I need my CPI. So to calculate CPI, I want you to ignore this, right? Just they already given you the CPI for this year. This year CPI is 100, but you want to calculate the CPI for this. Remember, this is just the price level. It's not CPI. To calculate CPI, you take the price level over here, put it in the numerator, over what was the previous price level of the basket last year. Now you take that times 100, you get 137.5. This is the CPI for this year, right? So currently, inflation rate. Inflation rate is a change of the CPI, right? So let's say I want to work with the inflation rate over here. Last year was 100 CPI, this year is 137.5. To work it out, you'd see 137.5 minus 100. That's 37.5 over last year's CPI, which is 100 times 100. That'll give you equal to 37.5%. So that's the inflation rate, right? 37.5%. Actually, let me just double check CPI this year minus CPI last year, CPI last year. Yeah, that's basically how it works, right? Okay, so we're done with session 8 to 10. Yeah, now we're doing 10 to 11. Alright, so inequality. Now, inequality, what is inequality? Everyone has money, right, in the country. Some people have a lot of money. You get people who are very, very rich. Some people have very, very little money, very, very poor. This is called inequality, right? Where it's not equal. So people who have money, they're not equally. Okay, not everyone has a 1 million rand. Some people have nothing. Some people have a million. That's inequality. Now, money income is your actual money you get as income. Market income is basically all the income you get from the factors of production. Let's see. The distribution of income. So most people earn incomes around here, 2,500. Very little people earn incomes over here, right? So as you can see, there's more poor people over here. Yeah, so that's it. Okay. Now what's a income Lorenz curve? The way you interpret this and the way you look at it and be like, how does this affect my life? You see this here, line of equality? Line of equality means everyone is earning the same amount, everyone is happy. So basically, it means everyone in the country is earning one amount. For example, 10,000 rand. If every single person is earning 10,000 rand, it'll be displayed in this black line. But that's equality. Everyone's earning equally. But the Lorenz curve, which is the green and blue one, now we'll concentrating on the green one first, because this is the income Lorenz curve, which is the green one, not the blue. The blue is wealth. The green one. Can you see how it's slanting a bit? What that means? It means people over here who are very, very rich on the right is pulling the money from people who are over here. So when they pull this money, those people over here who's over here do not get that money because the rich is taking the money from them, and that is why it's getting pulled. So if you can picture someone over here pulling this Lorenz curve, taking all the money from these people on the black line, which is supposed to be equal right over here, pulling this thing to here, that's your Lorenz curve. So the more pulled it looks, right, the more inequality. For example, if the green one was this blue one, this is more unequal than that, right? So for example, this is more unequal in the green. So the more it gets pulled, the more money you're taking from the poor, and the rich is very, very rich. So people over here are extremely rich, but there's so much of poor people. You see, over here everyone is the same. They earn the same salary, but now more people are earning the salary over here, right? So that's how you interpret the Lorenz curve. Okay. In the figure above, the lowest 20% of households, lower 20%, They're talking about 0 to 20. Sorry. This is income. Take note. Income. This year's percentage of households. So, lowest 20% of households. So it's talking about, yeah. So the lowest 20% of households receive something percent of income. They receive 10% of income, right? 10. See, 20, that's 10. 10% of income. The next 20%. So that means 20 to 40. So only this side, 20 to 40. So it represents this. How much of income? Some people might be smart and say it's 20. No, this is cumulated. So we say 20 minus this amount here. So 20 minus 10 is 10. So the answer will be 10. So right now we got 20 and 10. No, actually, hold on a second. No, 10 and 20. Sorry, 10 and 20. Yeah. This one was 10. 10. Now I told this one is 20. And then, and the richest 20% receive something. And the richest 20. The richest 20 is over here. So I'm just checking. Talking about this. So we say 100 minus 60, that's 40. So it's 40. So 10, 20, 40 is B. So you see, don't forget you're right. It's this minus that. But here is 0, so we just say 10. But this minus that, because it's cumulated, right? Okay, in the above figure, point something shows equal. Equal is obviously in this here, right? So it's either going to be B or C. It can be any B or C as long as it's on the line of equality, which is the straight line. So B, so I already know it's C already, right? Because the income while point something shows unequal. Unequal is anything on this line. Literally anything on this line is unequal. A or D is unequal. So we can say it's. So I said why I said that. It's this. B. Because B says B is equal. That's correct. And then A is unequal. That's correct. A is unequal. Measuring income inequality. So another way to represent income inequality is through wealth, right? Now, what's the difference between income and wealth, you might ask? Income is the amount of money you get, right? Wealth includes your assets. So if you have a house, that's an asset. If you have a bank, that's an asset. So obviously it's going to be different, right? So the green graph or the green Lorentz curve is called the income Lorentz curve, but you also get a wealth Lorentz curve. Now, you might be thinking, what's going on over here? The reason why the income Lorentz curve is less, like, how to say it, less equal than the wealth. Oh, no, sorry, it's more equal. Because you see how the Lorentz curve, it's more like this black line. The black line is equal. So if the green line looks more equal than the blue, what this means. Now, wealth. Well, you have to understand that in life, right? The reason why it takes so long for this blue graph to go up. Think about your life. If when you're a child, you have no assets, right? You have no buildings. You don't have no home that you own. You have no bank. But when you're an adult, you have more of those stuff. So over here, you don't have that much wealth. But as you go long term, you have that wealth. Income, you're a teenager over here, you're a student, and you earn some money and you go up, right? So income is more equally distributed than wealth. This is a past paper question. So also income. Income is just income, right? So it's more like equal. Wealth, a lot of people have more wealth when they're adults. You see, they have more bank accounts, more homes. So that's unequal. Yeah, that's why it's unequal. Okay, so a typical household income changes over its life cycle. We know that income starts to grow out and peak. Inequality of household difference in the life cycles. So obviously income goes down, income goes up, right? Now what is Gini coefficient? So you look at the Lorentz curve. Instead of look at the Lorentz curve, it can give a number. The number starts from 0 and ends at 1. What is 0 means? 0 means equality. So everyone is equal. This is good. 1 inequality. This is bad. So if I give you a number, let's say 0.1, that's more, that's good, that's equality, right? 0.3, that's equality. 0.5, 0.5, that's half. So in between 0 and 1. So it's between equality and inequality. If I say 0.9, that's inequality, that's bad. So you see, so I can measure a number like that. That's Gini coefficient basically, right? The greater the degree of income inequality, so that becomes bad, right? Yeah, so income distributing more equally when it's at zero, right? So closer to zero, it's the best. Poverty is a condition with people and families don't have enough means to satisfy the needs. They don't have enough money. Four characteristics of people who earn high incomes and people who earn low incomes stand out. Education, type of household, age. So obviously it depends on the education, right? You have more education, you'll have earn more money and stuff, right? So that's what it basically is saying. And that's session, all of part one, done. Don't forget to like and subscribe.